All right, well, welcome back to another edition of the Artist Retrospective. This is the video series where I cover one of my favorite artists and just kind of give you a rundown on some of the books they've done and maybe even give you a couple of top 5 lists to go along with that. Hopefully you're enjoying this series, as I love diving into cover art and artists and just looking at their entire portfolios and just kind of going through it a little bit with you guys. So hopefully you're enjoying this as well. If you are, please like, subscribe, hit that alert button so you don't miss anything that drops on the channel at least once a day. And yeah, if you want to see what artists we're covering this week, just hang on after the intro and I'll be right back to tell you who it is. Okay, so this week we are going to look at one of my favorite artists that is still underrated, in my opinion. I mention his name all the time, especially when I'm talking about those kind of three-colored covers like black, white, and red. But David Aja is just underrated, in my opinion. I realize his style may be considered simple by many because it has that same kind of vibe as like a Sean Phillips or Chris Samney, but I enjoy that style, and I tell you it is not simple in any way. Just because it's not overdone with a lot of cross-hatching and a lot of fine little lines, I think the art is very well planned out and it tells a story. And that's what I'm looking for in my art. Is I want it to grab me, I want it to grab my attention, and I want it to, again, tell me a story, especially the interiors. I mean, we get so focused in on just cover art these days that we forget the actual nuances that have to go in telling sequential, telling a story through sequential art. And we're going to get into it a little bit here, but just want to throw this out there that David Aja is definitely underrated, in my opinion. He should be more well known, and he does have some good books out there, and there are some covers. I'm not to say that nobody knows who he is. I just think he needs to be celebrated a little bit more in our circles of collecting and talking about comics these days. I think he just gets forgotten about, even though he's won a couple of Eisners. Just to kind of go back, he started working professionally as an illustrator in Barcelona back in about like 2000. He started in work with like some CD covers as well as some computer graphics before he even got into comic books. So he was working as an artist for a couple of years, and you can kind of see that inspiration from other media in his comic book art. And getting into that, his first comic art I can point to is in 2005, and that is with this X-Men Unlimited number 11. Now, I know you're looking at this cover, you're like, wait a second, that doesn't look like his art, because it isn't. This is a Mike Deodato cover, but he did do interior work in this issue, which is why this is his first work. And what I found very interesting about this is that the style is completely different than what we know of his art today. If you look at this, like, this is a very anime, like, exaggerated kind of style. It looks like almost old school Disney art to me for a little bit. If you look at this, the exaggeration in the ears here on Sam Guthrie, it's just, I don't know, it's just not what I would have expected. It definitely looks more cartoony, more anime, manga, however you want to, however you're supposed to pronounce it, but definitely interesting. Definitely interesting that this style isn't something I would have thought was his. Like, if I saw this, I would not have said this was David Aja. But it is cool in its own little way. It kind of makes me think Middleton in some aspects, where you see some of the the sleeker lines, but definitely wouldn't have guessed David Aja on this. Because when I think of his art, I think immediately to what he worked on the year after in 2006, the Immortal Iron Fist. Now, like, this is the stuff that I think of, like the black, the kind of a sketchy nature to it, just kind of almost like charcoal a bit, very detailed backgrounds. It just fantastic. I love this run on a Mortal Iron Fist, and I suggest you guys go pick it up if you haven't gotten to this already. It's a character I definitely think they should bring back, especially with the popularity of Shang-Chi right now. I think we can work Iron Fist back into the Marvel, I guess not into, but work him into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, not back. Because the Netflix show, while it left a lot to be desired, it started to get on the right track. And hopefully they can kind of bridge that gap and make it work in the current Marvel universe, cinematically. Or on Disney Plus. I mean, it's the same thing to me, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But that being said, this is a great run, and I'm just going to show you some of the covers here because you can just see the difference in his work where he can go from something that looks almost like a traditional Japanese kind of like style there with the one on the left, as opposed to the more almost Andy Warholish kind of pop art that you get there on the right. It definitely, you can see the inspiration he might get from doing CD covers and, like I said, some other media as well before getting into comics. And just rolling through after Immortal Iron Fist, he also had this great run on Immortal Weapons, which is kind of a miniseries that followed up, Immortal Iron Fist. So you can see like this Fat Cobra cover is pretty cool to me. It has that these covers in this run have that same kind of a vibe as a lot of the Immortal Iron Fist books, in that there's just like a strip going down the center. So there is a lot of empty space in the cover, but I still think that negative space is used very well, especially how it bleeds in with the art that is presented there. Like if you look at issue 2, just the way that the Bride of the Nine Spiders, the way her back just kind of flows into the background, and Dog Brother there on issue 3. These are just great, like, striking images. They just kind of capture you. At least they catch my eye. If I see this on the wall amongst all the other comic book art, this jumps out at me. Partly because of the bright white, but just something about the way that white plays. Again, 3 colors is basically all that's being used. Black, white, and a color. So black, white, and like a lighter purple, black, white, and purple. And then we can go on to issue 4, where it's black, white, and yellow, basically. I know there's a little bit of red down there, but for the most part, very simple, very basic 3 color schemes here being used, but it still gives you a piece of art that just grabs your eye and just draws you in and makes you want to open this book to see what's going on inside. So that was a nice little run in that 5-issue series for Immortal Weapons. And I also, kind of sticking on that same kind of vein, in 2011, he also had a nice little 5-issue run doing the 5 Ronin, which was, again, pretty cool series. There was B covers on these as well, but I think the David Ajah ones are the ones you want to go and get, from the Wolverine on issue 1 to the you got Hulk and Punisher on 2 and 3, and then the best ones I think are Psylocke there on issue 4 and Deadpool on issue 5. Just really cool covers. Again, just using that kind of one stripe color, but in here the art does kind of bleed into the white a little bit in a sketch type style with touches of color. Definitely dig it. So this is definitely a series I'd recommend picking up for the covers alone. Plus, it's kind of a fun little story. But covers alone, definitely grab that. And while you can see like the Asian influence here on this stuff, especially with all the Immortal Iron Fist, we're talking all this kung fu type stuff, he does do other art styles as well. I mean, you saw a taste of it with a little bit of that pop art that I mentioned, like the Warhol-esque thing, but you can go back to almost like these old school World War II propaganda kind of like posters when he did the covers for this Red Skull Incarnate. I mean, you just look at the, again, very basic, not basic, but very simple use of color here to play against each other with the, basically black, white, and red with some touches of, I guess, beige, you might say, mixed in. Or, but that issue 2, like, look at that. That's just fantastic. And 3 with the tanks all lined up. This looks like classic stuff, and it really elicits that feeling like these books could have been released in the 40s during World War II. You get that kind of sense, or at least I do when I look at these. So issues 2 and 3 are pretty cool, and then you get almost like a newspaper print on issue 4 there, and then issue 5, again, just the use of that negative space with like the little cityscape line. It's just done in negative space, but you get the sense of it with the tanks in the forefront, the way things are layered. It's a great use of just, again, not a lot of color here. Definitely not a lot of color, but definitely really good stuff, in my opinion. Now, from there, I mentioned it from the outset that he is an Eisner Award winner for best cover artist, best single issue, best penciler and inker. He has won multiple awards over a couple of years for doing mostly for his Hawkeye run here, which is what we're going to look at here first in 2012. This is another one I guess you would say that he's probably best known for, is this run on Hawkeye, and it is just really fantastic stuff. Just, again, the negative space and the use of color is just unmatched on these covers to me. Like, these things are just so pretty to look at, and you get multiple variants on these earlier issues, especially when you get into the more purpley, I think, third prints. But As I'm going to show you the multiple printings on issue 1, I'm also going to give you a little taste of the interior art too, because again, he's more than just a cover artist. You can see a story being told without being able to read the text of this. You can tell what's going on in the story just by looking at these images and following them. Following down through the page. You're being told a story even without the words. Not to say that Matt Fraction's words don't need to be read, because again, this is a great run both for the art and for the story. And I'm looking forward to it. Some of it's going to be adapted for the Hawkeye show. Definitely looking forward to that. But here you got the first print, and then you can see as they went with the second print, they just kind of remove some of the colors on the cover. And again, you see the colors even on the inside. It's a lot of very simple uses of color, but it's really telling the story. Like, you're getting the sense of daytime. It's brighter. It's not so bleak in the interior part of the story. It is definitely hopeful. And then as we move on, you can see how the use of that color, even though there's not a lot of different colors being used per page, really helps to tell that story. As we go to the third print that I mentioned with the purple cover for that third print, number 1 is just also really, really cool. And that's very simplistic looking in that it's just black, a little bit of white, and all purple. And then you can see how the color is kind of pulled out in the interior pages as well, where we get to the nighttime, more the blues, and then more somber and little shadier things going on with the tracksuit mafia there, the tracksuit Draculas, I believe they went by. But and then we got a fourth print here. Again, all variations on that same kind of scheme, and then the interior still again playing out that story. And yeah, multiple printings on that number 1. Keep an eye out for all of them. If you can get the set of them, I recommend it. It's kind of cool to see them all together. But the way he plays with the panels and tells that story is, again, it's fantastic. You could just see working in things like what looks like a newspaper print and tickets in on the over there on the left. Meanwhile, on the right, you can see some influence on what's going on in between in their minds, basically, from Kate Bishop to for Hawkeye there. You can just see like what their inspirations are, what their motivations are in those little circles as they're having their conversation. It's just an interesting take and an interesting way to tell a story. Makes it a little different, and it's definitely refreshing, if you will. And again, you can see here with the way the boxes are laid out with the text, and you can see the bomb cutting the cord, and you're just seeing all of this laid out. It's just very interesting to look at, and it really pulls you in and makes you want to read what's going on in this story, not just breeze through it as some action fight scene in most books that you get. It's just kind of flipping through it, just looking at the pictures. Like, this is kind of taking you along for the story and for the ride, and it's a great trip. Definitely a great trip, and recommended. Now, while we've been talking about all these purples, he did do a lot of reds as well, because I know I've talked about red being one of his colors. And you can look here on issues 8 and 9, which are pretty good books. And this is where we start getting introduced to Kaz Merrick. I don't know if I'm saying his name, Kaz the Clown, who I think is going to be introduced on the Hawkeye show as well, and could be introduced as kind of like a bigger bad, and definitely a good villain and antagonist for this run, for the Fraction and Aja run here. I'm telling you, pick up this whole thing. It's like 22 issues. Pick up the whole thing if you can, even in trades. Just read it. It's a great run. It's a great read. And again, with the later printings on these, you can see how the wash of red becomes purple. Also very striking. I know some of these later prints, the second prints on these, get pretty pricey, especially on that number 9. That has been a pricey book for a little while now, and it's just one to keep an eye out for. And you can see the clown there on issue 10, and then issue 11. You got that great Lucky the Pizza Dog cover, which is another one that has pretty tough to find and expensive second print, because this is the issue that he won, that single issue, and he won an Eisner for this issue. So keep an eye out for that. And it's definitely a good one to have in your collection if you can get it. But like I said, if you can't get these single issues because they're getting kind of pricey, it's understandable. Then just get the trades. It is well worth it. Well worth it. And then just show you a couple of more from this run. I mean, you get just fantastic images. There's just not your usual cover fare that you see on comic books. I know you might be thinking the Saga there with the television head, and just looking at the rooftops of issue 22 again, which is the final issue in the run. It's just it's great. I don't know, it's great to me. I definitely dig it. All right, so there we're going to take our first little pause, and we are going to look at the top 5 covers. This is my first top 5 list I'm going to work in for David Aja, and these are the top 5 best-selling covers that I was able to come across when I did my little check. I just did a little perusal of eBay, looking for best-selling, the high-selling books, and seeing what was there. Again, I'm only doing raw. I'm not doing CGC sales or CBCS sales. No slabs here for pricing because I just want to try to keep, the playing field level. So with that being said, we're going to start in with one book we've already looked at, which is that third print for number 1. And this issue 1 third print coming in at number 5 is, like I said, it's getting a little pricey. You can see there the best offer accepted on $136. Now, I actually had to look because I wanted to make sure I got the actual price and what it actually was accepted for US dollars, because this was coming from the UK and there was a pound conversion, but $79.37 is what was actually accepted on this price, which is why it's coming in at number 5. So just about $80 on this thing, which again, for a third print, is pretty impressive, at least to me. Now, number 4 is a raw copy of the book that I've got sitting here right next to me, and I really dig this cover. This is a convention exclusive, I believe. I actually got this copy off of my buddy Phil. He had a couple, and he let me get one from him. I'm happy to get that. Went straight to CGC as is, came through as a 9.8. So I'm happy to have this as my copy for my collection. And this is Spider-Gwen number 5. I believe it's the San Diego comic convention exclusive for this cover. There's a multiple variants for this issue, but this is coming in at number 4 because $140 raw. One sold for. Granted, this was back in July, so it was a little while ago, but still $140 for a raw copy of this is quite a sale. So you can see we're only at issue number 4. We still got 3 more that are more than $140. So he does have some high selling books, some expensive books. So I shouldn't say that David Aja isn't not respected at all. He definitely is, especially with people's dollars, because they are putting money into some of his covers. Like this number 1 variant for Hawkeye. This is the Kate Bishop Hawkeye. This is the 1 in 25 variant. It's coming in at number 3 because raw, this thing pulled down a solid $200. Not too bad. $200 for a raw copy of this 1 in 25 is pretty impressive. Now, we already went through this run with Tedesco last week, and the cover A's are well worth grabbing for Tedesco art. But when you can get an incentive that has David Aja as well, this is a series that's going to be pulling a lot of eyes, especially with the show coming. Kate Bishop's going to be on it. A lot of excitement, and I can see some of these prices going up even more in the next couple of months. But I don't know. Be fun to watch. It's definitely going to be fun to watch. Now, coming in at number 2, I do have this book. It's probably one of my favorite David Aja variants. I'm glad I got one. And this is the Daredevil 111, that 1 in 25 incentive variant. Just fantastic. I keep saying it over and over again. The 3 colors, the black, white, and red in his hands is just gorgeous. Gorgeous work. Just can't say it enough. And I know this book has also been seeing an uptick lately with the Hitmonkey trailer, which is kind of weird that a side character in a Hulu show featuring Hitmonkey is going to really drive a book's price up. But here we are. And Daredevil 111 in all the different covers are selling. There's the cover A, cover B, which is the Dodson. Then there's this, which is the incentive variant. And then you also have a second print as well to keep an eye out for First Lady Bullseye. But we were just here to talk about David Aja, and this cover is one of my favorites of his. Definitely one of my favorites. And coming in at number 2. And this one's coming in at number 2, even though it also sold for $200. So it's just like the other one, but I put this one at number 2 because the asking price on it was $275 and a best offer was accepted, and it was more recent. So I went with this one, even though it's kind of like 2A and 2B. This is also $200 raw for this thing, which is going to leave us with our number 1 book. And this one I do not yet have, and I do want one very badly, but this thing has gotten so expensive. This book has come up a couple of times on the Star Wars shows that I do, and I've talked about it a couple of times, and I still want one. Maybe I'll get lucky, but this Darth Maul number 2 is, again, 3 colors, used flawlessly. Awesome image. Just love it. This 1 in 25 of Darth Maul 2, which also happens to feature the first appearance of Cad Bane inside, which is one of my favorite bounty hunters. There's just a lot going for this book and why I want one. But as I said, it's coming in at number one because it is pricey, and $460 raw, pricey. Yeah, I can't swing that right now. I just can't do it. I just can't do it. Yeah, but I'd love to have one. So maybe one of these days. Maybe one of these days, price will dip or I'll get lucky. But this one was at auction, 3 bids, $460 raw, and the CGC slabs are even more expensive. But what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? So, following this up, we're going to just go look at a couple more of my favorites. These are just going to be some random covers, just kind of mixed in, just stuff that I do like that he has done throughout his, in his portfolio of work. Going from Karnak, which is also one of the cover runs that was included in his Eisner wins, because he did multiple covers for different books. Like he was doing Hawkeye at the same time, doing Karnak and Scarlet Witch, which we are also going to get to in a little bit. But this Karnak run, even though it was a very short run, still has some really cool stuff. I mean, just looking at the stained glass window cover, it's just something about it. And even just having those little specks on the outside makes it look like it's a piece of art and just like a print and not just such a clean, bland image. It doesn't make that white look bland. Somehow, just those little hints of specks just add something to this. I don't know. There's something about it. Also, same here. You can see the same thing with the splatter. It's just something, I don't know, just completes the image somehow. Even though it looks like there's a lot of negative space, a lot of dead space, which is something I complain about on a lot of cover critiques on other things, other shows that I've been on. Something about the way David Aja fills that cover, I'm just a fan of. So this is issue 6, just the green splatter. Again, 3 colors, green, white, and the black is basically all you're getting here. I mean, shaded, but still. Good stuff. Good stuff. And same, Jessica Jones. I mean, look at this scene. Just something about it with those, what are they, Bende dots? I think that's what they're called. The comic book looks like the little dot from the old school print. But again, black, white, just a hint of red with almost like blood splatter throughout this cover. Just gorgeous stuff. And I think this is just a regular like variant, like almost like a B cover for this. I don't believe this is an incentive, so this is one that could still be had for cheap. So if you're just looking to add, a bunch of these books are just regular covers. And yes, while he does have so many expensive ones, there's plenty that are not that expensive that you just scoop up. But on that note, this one is actually surprisingly expensive, and this Han Solo from Fried Pie, it's actually a little pricey. I kind of dig it. Again, it's got that old school kind of vibe. It looks like an old billboard poster that you would find in like a Subway. I don't know. There's something about it. It also is pretty cool with, again, 3 colors. Something about it. Something about his use of just 3 colors is just unmatched to me. And again, Fried Pie, like these types of variants you usually don't go for much. They're like double cover, like $10 books. But this one I think is selling for like 50 in some cases, or asking. And so I don't know, something to keep an eye out for, but definitely not cheap. So see if you can scoop one up for cheap if you get lucky, but don't expect to get it cheap all the time. Star Wars 21, another one, 3 colors. Great cover. Just laid out with the stormtroopers, just black, white, and red. Telling you, no one better. No one better. And this one does have an incentive that is just black and white, which is almost looks just as good, even without that red. He doesn't need a lot to get just a striking image. It just draws you in. At least draws me in. Which is going to take us to one of my favorite cover runs of his, Scarlet Witch. 3 colors, black, white, red, is all you need. Eisner, well deserved. Just look at these covers. It's just so different, so imaginative. Just looking at like the beads on her, like her headdress there on issue 1, blending in with her hair that's just flowing out. And then issue 2, it's like a map that is made out to look like her face. You can see her face with the helicopter as the nostril. It's just so well thought out and so well laid out that it's just awesome. Just awesome. And again, 3 colors is all you need. Number 4 is one of my favorites. I've talked about that one before. 6 is really cool. It reminds me almost like a playing card with the reversed images. Just the way that they are stacked and the negatives. Like it just draws you in. It's almost like a magic eye, that issue 6. You can see like just the juxtaposition of the faces just laid in with one another with the black and white and the red. Just awesome. I know I keep saying awesome, but there's no other word for it. Number 10 is another great one. Just that fantastic looking snow, just dollop right in there with the Japanese tower. And Agatha Harkness there on issue 13 with the cat. Just the use, again, of that negative space and 3 colors is just fantastic. Fantastic. I don't even need to talk. You just sit here and look. Just look at these covers. And I'm not showing you every cover. I could have shown you the whole run. I just picked out some of my favorites, but it's basically half the run. And then issue 14, it's almost like that old school, like a horror poster. Awesome. And then the simple, well, I don't want to say simple, but just that very, that stark white cover with her just sitting there like on a little chair. It's just awesome. It's almost like The Godfather. Dig it. Dig it. And that was issue 15, which is the last of the series. So it's only a 15 issue run. If you can find them all, I suggest you try to go and grab them all. There's also some good variants, but again, those aren't his. They're not David Aja's. His is on the cover A's, which are all worth scooping up, in my opinion. Great run. Great run. And you notice all this stuff has been Marvel because he really hasn't done much DC at all. I'm going to put DC here, but all we're going to have to show for DC is he did this random Brightest Day Green Arrow issue 12 back in, I want to say like 2012, somewhere around there. And yeah, again, you can see this, his style. You see the Ben-Day dots and just the little panel work. It's almost like he's telling a story on the cover. And then he recently did, not this cover, this is Batman Black and White, but he did an interior story. So this is, again, interior work for him. So pretty cool. Gives a little bit of his history because Batman Black and White, it's almost like letting an artist just kind of do their thing in black and white. And so well done here. Again, you don't have to read the text, even though it is good. I'm not saying you don't, not to read it. I'm just saying you could see the story playing out without even reading the text. And issue was told sideways, like a widescreen effect. So you could just follow along looking at this, and you can see the story of the investigation taking place and the murder, and then the bats and in the bat cave, and doing his work, doing his detective work as the detective works it through. Just fantastic, fantastic stuff. And again, those Ben-Day dots. So well used. And then we got some variants. We got a few variants to talk about. So I'm just going to run through just some random old variants from Archer and Armstrong that he has done, which you get even some like design covers. That I've noticed that's something else that he's done a lot of. It's like kind of breaking out because he does so much little fine detail work. I think it makes a lot of sense for him to do design because it just kind of lays everything out for other artists to see, well, how would we draw his bag? What does his bag look like? What does the crossbow look like? There it is, laid out for everyone else to use for the interiors. Bloodshot. He did a Bloodshot cover. Again, 3 colors. So well done. Design here on issue 4. It's, again, it's just kind of laying things out so you can see what Bloodshot should look like without his shirt, without his jacket, so on and so forth. Awesome. 3 colors. Rye. Such good stuff. Godshaper. Interesting little cover. Interesting little book. Simon Spurrier. Fun little read if you want to check it out. But he did do a variant for this. This is not an incentive variant. I think this is just like a C cover. I think it was like an FOC cover. So this is something you can find out there. Relatively cheap, I believe. Then we got this Black Panther cover. The Man Without Fear. So this is when Black Panther kind of took over the Daredevil book for a little while. But let's just look at him and Cap. It's just great, great cover. This Secret Wars Hail Hydra #3 variant. Just that cityscape and the gear work. It's just, even the way that they put the barcode worked into the art. Fantastic. Such a simple little Howard the Duck incentive. This thing's a little bit pricey, but still pretty cool. Still pretty cool. Just, it elicits a feeling, just even though it's a mostly white cover with just a small duck drawn on it. Something about his body posture and just the little squiggle line gives you just a sense of, you get that feeling. You know what this duck is feeling. just from this one little image on this cover. And yet something that simple could be used, like, look at this Punisher cover that's just a crossword puzzle with blood all over it. Just such the fine detail work needed to draw this, that he actually went through and drew all those little boxes to make that skull in the crossword puzzle. It is tedious work, to be sure, but well worth it. And I believe this is also just like a B cover, this Defenders cover. So this is one, it might have been a qualifying order one, but it's not an incentive, so it's another one you could find probably for cover price or so. Then you got a classic Doctor Strange for the Return of the Fantastic Four. It looks Kirby-esque. It does. It definitely looks Kirby-esque. And that's Kirby, not Herbie, who's flying in the background. Which is a nice segue into our final little segment, which is our top 5 variants on a budget. I like doing the second list last week with Tedesco, so I felt, you know what, I'm going to do it again this week. We're going to do a little top 5 variants on a budget for this artist, which is going to start us off with a B cover for Invincible Iron Man number 6. Again, just looks like a propaganda poster, but so cool with, again, 3 colors. Keep saying it, but it's true. That's all he needs. And this, in issue 6, this B cover, look, $1.50, 3 bids, $1.50. I think you can basically find this for cover or less. So it's definitely a cool one to keep an eye out for. But maybe you find it at a $1 bin. Definitely something cool. But like I said, I believe this is just a B cover. It's not an incentive. So don't think it's that difficult to find. Unlike this 1 in 25 Poe Dameron for issue number 4, which again, it's got a similar vibe to that Iron Man, with just the motion moving that way. But again, 3 colors. Looks a bit like a poster to me. Issue 4, 1 in 25. This book could be scooped up for a measly $10 shipped. $10 shipped. Pretty cheap. Definitely dig it. And you can even see, like, the creases that are worked into the art. It looks like a folded poster. Like, that's what a folded poster that's spread out would look like, because you can see the creases going down the center and the side there. I've mentioned this book before in Chasing Ghosts, actually, and talked about it. And this is also one of the reasons why I wanted to cover him soon, because he kept coming up in other things I was doing. This Secret Avengers 18, which it has had some higher sales, but this 1 in 20 I bring up here into the budget because it's also was sold for just $10, just on the 8th of this month. So a couple weeks ago, $10. Still cheap. This one I actually had to pay shipping, though, on top of that $10. So that's why it's a little bit more pricey, and it's coming in next. Then our next book is this variant for issue 17 of Immortal Iron Fist. Just a different take. It almost looks like a Western a little bit, like with the staff, just because of the hat. I think the hat is giving that Western vibe, and a little bit like a poncho. But this Immortal Iron Fist number 17 is a 1 in 10, I think, from what I found. 3 colors, black, white, and yellow in this case. $98, but $5 shipping. So the shipping's a little bit more expensive, which is why I ticked it up a little bit higher on this list as being a little bit pricier. It's if you can tell, the prices are getting a little more expensive, just like the last list, but these are still on a budget because we're only talking about $10 here for 1 in 10. And then issue number 600 of Daredevil. This is a 1 in 25. This is awesome. 3 colors, black, white, red. Looks like a Batman cover with the bats, but those are probably pigeons in Hell's Kitchen. You get the little bit of cityscape there. Just fantastic. $6 cover price on this thing, by the way. So keep that in mind, that this was a $6 cover price book, a 1 in 25, but yet it could still be had for $13. So I think that's a good budget pickup if it were me. But that's it. That's what I got for David Aja. Again, if I didn't make it clear, I dig it. 3 colors is all the man needs. It's all he needs. And just fantastic stuff. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Hopefully you saw some covers you had never seen before that have drawn your interest and made you want to look for some of his work, because it is well worth picking up. I'm telling you, that Scarlet Witch run is just lights out. That Fraction Hawkeye run, again, great read, as well as fantastic art on the covers as well as the interiors. Just great stuff. So keep an eye out for these. Hopefully, I enticed you into looking in for more of his stuff, because that's what I'm hoping to do here. I'm hoping to give some more exposure to some artists, some of my favorites, and just kind of go through it. So tell me what you guys think. Thanks for stopping by. Hopefully, you enjoyed that. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Continue to tell your friends so we keep growing the channel. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.